Turn with me to Matthew 26. We're going to pick up where Denny left off last week. Matthew 26, starting in verse 47. It says this, "And even as Jesus said this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by the leading priests and elders of the people. The traitor Judas had given them a prearranged signal. 'You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss.' So Judas came straight to Jesus. 'Greetings, Rabbi,' he explained, and gave him the kiss. Jesus said, 'My friend, go ahead and do what you have come for.' Then the others grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of the men with Jesus pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's slave, slashing off his ear." This is such bad aim. "Put away your sword," Jesus told him. "Those who use the sword will die by the sword. Don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us, and he would send them instantly? But if I did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe that this must happen now?" And this is a central theme of what we're going to be looking at today and next week as we take this journey to the cross. We're going to be in the first major trial that Jesus had after he was arrested and before he was sentenced to death and crucified. He had to stand trial, two different trials. But we see this theme that Jesus is in control the entire time. He has all of heaven and earth's power and authority that could show up and stop it at any moment, but he doesn't. He doesn't fight back. As Denny did such a good job last week telling us, he had decided that this was what was going to happen. It's happening, as Jesus talks about it here. The truth is happening. The scriptures are coming to life. So Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there teaching every day. But this is all happening to fulfill the words of the prophets, as recorded in the scriptures." So he knows, right? This is reality coming to life. This is truth coming to life. And at this point, all the disciples, what did they do? They understood the message and they were right there with Jesus, right? They believed in the bigger plan. They knew that this was like the most important event in human history, and they were right there with him, encouraging him, praying for him, supporting him. "Jesus, you need some strength. This is hard. I'm right here with you. I'm going to be here. I'm going to give you what you need. You're accomplishing the salvation, the souls of mankind. You're saving me for eternity." The disciples were right there with Jesus, right? No. At that point, all of the disciples deserted him and fled. And as we think about our life today, we have this same choice to make over and over and over again. Are we going to let failure be final? Are we going to let discouragement lead us to disappointment, to lead us to depression? Are we going to get caught up in the unfortunate circumstances that we are dealing with in life? Or are we going to stand with Jesus? Are we going to stand with Jesus in the truth, in the plan that God had before the foundation of the world? We see this play out. Then the people who arrested Jesus led him to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of religious law and the elders had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and came to the high priest's courtyard. He went in and sat with the guards and waited to see how it would all end. And what's interesting at this point, none of the Gospels gives us a full picture of the events that happened. And so that's why there's 4. You kind of got to piece them together a little bit. And John 18 tells us that they first went to Caiaphas' father-in-law's house. And there was a few things that happened, but it's most likely that this father-in-law their house was kind of one big thing, and they just kind of all were together. They might have started at Annas' house, and then they went to the other side, or other people came in. It's just all one big thing. This is also where Peter denies Jesus 3 times. We're not really going to focus on that part of the story. We're going to focus on the trial that is happening, and Peter's kind of on the outskirts. Inside this meeting where the trial happens, you have religious leaders, teachers of the law. You also have the elders, or like community representatives, present. And we don't know exactly who this group of people is. One of the Gospels gives them the name, the Sanhedrin. It was a Jewish governing body of some kind. I say that because they were under Roman occupation, and so they had some authority, but as we'll see next week, they had to go to the Romans, to Pilate, to actually do anything. And so these people were here, and we're just setting the scene, right? Jesus is arrested. He's brought to the judge's house. It's the middle of the night. There's other important political figures there, religious leaders there, and Peter is the only disciple that is kind of like half there, just kind of sitting on the outside, waiting to see how it would all end. Now, inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find witnesses who would lie about Jesus. Notice they were trying to find. How sad is that? I think this is the first example in our text today of humans, of people getting caught up in the chaos of circumstances. Humans trying to manipulate circumstances, trying to create their own reality to satisfy their own wishes and desires and wants. They were going after this. They were going to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish with Jesus. They weren't just kind of letting this happen. They weren't just kind of trying to see what was right or real. They were trying to push for something specific. And that something specific was that they were going to put him to death. They had already concluded this is how this is going to end. Jesus is going to die before the case even started. They said, Jesus is guilty. Now, what are the charges? And we need 2 witnesses to confirm those charges so that we can accomplish the conclusion we've already made. And we see this, I think, in our world all the time, don't we? Whether we're talking about very public, very high-ranking people or situations, or whether we're talking about our own kind of personal relationships, or what's happening at work or in our friend group or in our neighborhood. I think this story reveals our human nature so well, that humans are so good at jumping to conclusions. They want to kill Jesus, and so now they got to work backward to see how we're going to make this happen. We see this play out, I think, when your boss wants to fire an employee, they'll find whatever they want to find in order to make that happen, right? Or the HOA wants to fine you, they'll walk around your yard for hours looking for that thing. They already decided, right? Or how about this one? You already know you were left out of that fun gathering last night. You already know. And so you open up your favorite social media app and you're scrolling and you keep scrolling. I mean, it takes a while, but you know you were left out. Some of your friends did something fun and it takes forever to find it, but hey, oh, there it is. I'm looking for it, but you already concluded. You already know you were left out of that fun thing that happened the other night. right? These guys in the trial, in the house, in the middle of the night are no different. They've had their experience with Jesus. They've heard his teachings. They've had their dialogues back and forth. They already arrested this man. They paid Judas money to betray him. They already know how this is going to go. There's no turning back. There's no letting him go. They've already decided. They just need to build the case. But even though they found many who agreed to give false witness, and this is crazy. There was a lot of people that were like, oh, I'll lie. Oh, just, I'll do it. My family and I get to go on a cruise in a couple months. I don't know how many cruises you've been on. This will be my first cruise ever. One of the funny things that happened in booking this cruise is we're talking to the travel agent, and, we've got specific things of arrangements with our kids and family and rooms and all this stuff. And the travel agent says over the phone, he's like, there's nothing a $20 bill in a handshake won't take care of on a cruise. Like, that's interesting, right? You just bribe everybody to get whatever you want. But that's human nature, isn't it? People will just tell you whatever they want to hear, do whatever you want for the right price. They'll hide the error in the numbers. They'll sweep the issue under the rug. They'll look the other way. They'll sign off even though they know it's not right for the right price. That's what everybody, I'll do it. But they couldn't use anyone's testimony. This is funny to me. You had a long list of people willing to stand up and lie about Jesus, but they couldn't perform well enough to actually make it happen. They couldn't get two people to say the same thing. No one could get their story straight. They had no dignity, no character. You had people that were ready and willing to step up for the moment, to earn some money, to do what the powerful people told them to do, and yet they didn't even have the skill to do it. It's just sad all around. But finally, Matthew tells us, 2 men came forward who declared, this man said, I'm able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days. It's like, oh, we finally got our 2 people. And they agreed on their story. They figured it out. And this story would be punishable by death. I mean, you're going to destroy the temple of God? That's a big deal. But the problem is Jesus never said these words. How many times have we've seen on TV where they, confront the person and say, hey, when you said this, did you mean that? What did you mean when you said that? And then the other person just like, I never said that, right? All the time. But Jesus never said these words. They were remembering something wrong. They were making up something that maybe they remembered, or it was kind of right, but it wasn't what Jesus said. What did Jesus say? John tells us in John 2:19. Jesus said, destroy this temple, implying somebody else is going to destroy it. Somebody else can destroy it. In 3 days, I will raise it up. This was in the context of, he's talking about the sign of Jonah being in the belly of the fish and coming up. This is in the context of having authority over the temple. Jesus, in John chapter 2, it's early in his ministry. This is years prior to the trial. Jesus shows up at the temple, the center of religious activities, and he turns the money changers' tables over. He basically takes charge of the temple and says, I'm in charge here. And for them to witness that happening, it was like Jesus was boasting about his earthly power of what he was going to physically do. But they had no concept, no understanding of what Jesus was actually saying. Jesus here in John 2:19 was saying, he was talking about his body. Destroy this temple in reference to his body, and in 3 days he would raise it up. So here's where it gets hard for us human beings. It gets complicated because we live in the temporary, the physical reality, the here and now. And when we think about our situations and our circumstances, and we think, oh, this is bad, and my family situation is bad, and my work situation is bad, and my health's bad, and all these things. And when somebody comes along and is like, I'll fix that and make it better, we're like, oh, that's cool. Or maybe it's good, life's good, work's good, family's good, and somebody comes along and tries to tear it down or tell you you're not doing it the right way, or you can't do that, or you can't call me that, and we get very defensive. But we're still operating on this realm of circumstances, of what is happening in our life. But Jesus is operating on a whole different level. He's talking about a temple being destroyed in 3 days, raising it up. Humans are thinking earthly, physical thoughts. Jesus is talking about something completely different. And this is what God does in our life. He's not just trying to rearrange the circumstances in your life to make it better for us. He's trying to bring a complete new reality into our minds, into our soul, into our heart, invite us into something completely different, completely new. And so these two guys were coming up with their story. This is what Jesus said. Well, he never said it. They were using something Jesus never said to put him to death. And I was thinking, how often do we get upset with God over words we thought he said, but never really said? How often do we get upset with other believers, or the world gets upset with Christians over things they claim God said, but he never even said it? They already have the conclusion before they ever find the evidence, right? So then the high priest stood and said to Jesus, well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus remained silent. I don't know, but I imagine how many trials Caiaphas would have presided over. Where's the same group of leaders in a room, and they have already drawn their conclusion. They know what's going to happen, and they're kind of making it up in the moment. This can't be the first time it's happening. And when they're making up the charges, when they're just kind of putting it together in the moment, I could hear the defendant, the one that they're accusing of these things, standing up and being like, this is crazy. I can't believe you're coming up with charges in the middle of, I didn't do anything wrong. Right? This is idiotic. This is unjust. You're making stuff up. This is a clown show. This is a kangaroo court. I could imagine all these things being said. And yet, here's Jesus in the middle of unjust, chaotic circumstances, just sitting there. He doesn't fall into the chaos of the circumstances. He doesn't get discouraged to the point of depression with the disappointment of the deeds of his fellow humans. He knows his time on earth is drawing to a close, but he's standing in something better. He's standing in something more powerful. He's standing in prophecy. He's standing in power, in control. He shows determination to do his Father's will over his own personal will. He had already decided it. And so for Jesus, the conclusion has already been made too. And he's content with whatever happens. But I don't think, it's verses like this, I don't think that we have to be like doormats for everybody where, we just let everybody take advantage of us and walk all over us as Christians. Let people beat us down. But I do think Jesus, in moments like this, he's showing us what it means to have incredible character, even in the middle of bad circumstances. He's showing patience in the middle of personal attacks. He's even accepting injustice against himself. Like, it is not fair what Jesus is going through. It's not right. But Jesus doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't answer. So the high priest said to him, I demand in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. Right? Caiaphas, the high priest, he just jumps right to it. This is the main issue. Like, if you claim to be the Messiah, you should be saving us from the Romans right now. And if you don't do that and you still claim to be the Messiah, then we're going to put you to death because you're crazy, you're insane. You say you're one thing, but you're not, and that's worthy of the death penalty. And so Jesus does respond to this. And I wonder today if you agree with Jesus' response, of understanding of who Jesus is. How does he reveal himself? How does he answer for himself in this moment? Jesus replied, you've said it. Right? He's not shoving it down their throat, like telling it exactly like you better, believe or follow everything that I say. No, he's just like, you said it. And in the future, you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven. These are powerful words. And I don't know if we can fully understand the power of these red letter words that Jesus gives us. But if you look at the New Living Translation here, I often leave these up. But like here, coming at God's right hand, and you see that little I there and that J there, that's the translators of the text giving us additional notes of maybe a cross-reference of something that verse is referring to. Maybe it's other ways of interpreting it. It's like just puts it all out there. It's not hiding anything. But Jesus is referring to some really, really powerful, very clear predictions, prophecies of the Messiah, claiming that this is you, like this is what's happening right now. You might be killing me and putting me to death, but in the future, you will see that I am the Messiah. So the first one is from Daniel 7:13. Daniel writes this, as my vision continued that night, that's Daniel speaking, I saw someone like the Son of Man. Now, the Son of Man became like a messianic title. That's what they would use to say the Messiah, the Son of Man, because of verses like this, coming with the clouds of heaven. There it is, right? Coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One, that's the Father, was led into his presence. He was given authority, honor, and sovereignty over all the nations of the world, so that people of every race and nation and language would obey him. His rule is eternal. It will never end. His kingdom will never be destroyed. That's what Jesus is saying. He's like, that's me. I'm that Son of Man showing up with the Ancient One. My rule is eternal, coming on the clouds of heaven. And then if that wasn't clear enough, if that wasn't strong enough, he references Psalm 110, where he says, the Lord, or the Father, Yahweh, said to my Lord, this is David writing, so David's like somebody above me, somebody like that, sit in the place of honor at my right hand until I humble your enemies, making them a footstool under your feet. Again, another kind of clear prophecy of this Messiah, this one to come that was going to be greater than anything that we could kind of wrap our minds around, this Messiah, this chosen one, this anointed one. And Jesus refers to these two very specific, very major prophecies of the Messiah, saying, you've said it, this is exactly who I am. And so imagine being the judge in this trial. You're listening to Jesus very clearly say these things, and it's your decision to make about Jesus. And what does the high priest do? He tore his clothes to show his horror and said, blasphemy. Why do we need any other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What's your verdict? And it has to be blasphemy, right? Because if it was really true, what Jesus said, then the high priest and everybody else in that room should have just bowed down and said, God, whatever you want, right? But if it's blasphemy, you can say, you're insane. You need to die. And that's what they did. They shouted, guilty. He deserves to die. It's the group of people getting caught up in the emotions of the moment and just the group think of it all. And what did they do? They began to spit in Jesus's face and beat him with his fists. And some slapped him, jeering, prophesy to us, you Messiah, who hit you that time? And as I read those words, my heart breaks for everybody who responds to Jesus like this. You know, he's not literally sitting in front of us today, but if he was, some people would respond, react the same way. They'd beat him, spit at him, slap him to make fun of him. And they're taking the most powerful thing about Jesus, the fact that he is outside of time and space. He knows everything, and he's using it in such a degrading way. Isn't it interesting? This is the kind of prophecy that people can handle. This is the kind of prophecy that they can control. Right? They're not standing in front of Messiah God, the Son of Man, coming on the clouds of heaven, sitting on the throne with everything under his feet, who has all authority in heaven and earth, and saying, oh God, we worship you. Whatever you want from me, just tell me. The answer is yes. I'm here to serve and worship you. No, they're not doing that at all. These people who are beating him and spitting at him and slapping him and making fun of him, they're minimizing his power and authority. And they are putting themselves in control. And they're laughing at God as they invite him to play their funny games. And I just see this theme play through this text. Do you or I, do others, do we play control? I mean, it's not real control, but we'll play around with it. We'll slap them and say, oh, guess who slapped you? Well, it was him. Oh, no, you know, it was him. No. We play like we're in control. Or do we recognize, do we believe that Jesus, that God is in control? I think, how do we understand this? How do we know which one we might be? I think it might be helpful for us to think about, how do we react to negative circumstances in our life? Are we like the religious leaders, jumping to conclusions, plotting, scheming, lying, manipulating to get what you want? You might be playing control. Or are you like Jesus, standing on the truth, steadfast in the truth, in the greater story of creation of God and his plan? It's the same circumstances, right? We're looking at the same things. We're experiencing the same things. It's the same life situations. It's the same out of control world that we live in, but there's two different choices that we all have to make. And I just wonder today, which one are you making? Would you pray with me? Lord God, thank you that you are in control of everything, that even in the worst moments against you, when you were beaten and made fun of, when they questioned you and made up stories about you to come to the conclusion that they already determined was the conclusion. Lord, you showed that you were in complete control over and over again. So I pray for each one of us today going through various things, that we would not let failure be final, that we would not let disappointment drag us down into discouragement, leading to depression. Lord, that we would not get caught up in the chaos of our circumstances, but that we would be able to stand with you, Jesus, in the truth. In something bigger than what we're facing right now. In prophecy, in the history of the world and what is to come. And we just get to play a small little role in that. And we ultimately recognize, Lord, that you are in ultimate control. So, Lord, forgive us when we try to control things, when we manipulate situations and lie to get what we want. Help us to have such a confidence in who you are, Lord, in the plan that you have for us and for the world. It is a chaotic world, and we don't understand many things that are going on. But we need you, and help us, Lord, to know that you are in control of all of it. We worship you, Jesus.